Hey everybody, welcome back to Geardo, where I buy and review gear that I'm able to get my hands on. Today, let's talk about sights. Now, I don't have a whole lot for you, just due to the fact of where I'm located. I don't have a whole lot of equipment that I'm able to get my hands on. However, I've got pictures to share with you guys. So, let's go ahead and let's start with iron sights. Iron sights are probably one of the most important pieces of equipment that you can have on your rifle. All right, this should be obvious, but it's absolutely necessary. It doesn't matter what type of weapon you have. You should always have some sort of iron sight on you or on your rifle, just in case your scope goes down or any type of battery powered reticle goes down. You need to be able to have something to replace all that quickly, especially when you're in a firefight. And at that point, you need to have these iron sights, okay? This is really, really important. Now, you've got different kinds. You've got the Picatinny kind, which you're able to just buy separately and then throw it onto your weapon and place them however you need. Like some people like to have it canted on the side of their rifle while they have their main scope on top, so on and so forth. Or they have, like, their scope is set up here, and then they got the rear sight here, and then they got a front sight up top. So easy enough to place wherever you want on your rifle. All right, on any government-issued rifle, you're typically going to have iron sights. Now, following those iron sights, you have something else. You can either have a CCO or you can have an ACOG. All right, let's talk about the CCO real quick. CCO is battery-powered. You can kind of see he's quite big. All right, he's a little bulky, quite heavy. He is battery-powered as well, but all of this equipment houses a single red dot. And if you're lucky and you have one of the newer ones, it might be a green dot. But typically, the ones that I've seen so far have all been red dots. Now, this is just super simple. It's not meant to provide any type of magnification of any kind. It is strictly there to get the target, get the shooter on target as quickly as they can, and to throw rounds downrange. On most of these, you're going to have this section right here. You may not be able to see it as well. Let me see if I can pick it up here. So right there at that front end, this right here is a honeycomb. So what that does is it allows the shooter to be able to shoot during the day and no fear of the glass on the inside reflecting and giving your position away. At least that's the theory behind it. Most of the people hate having that thing on there anyway because it screws with their vision, so they decide, you know what, never mind, I'm not going to do this. These guys, you can also get your hands on anything like this, any type of red dot. There's a lot of companies out there that make a lot of good product. And some that are even better and cheaper than what the Army is paid for. But this is your CCO. I don't know what CCO stands for. All I know is that it means red dot in that case. But let's go to what a lot of the other rifles end up having, and that is an ACOG. All right, so the ACOG has a 4+ magnification in it. It is glass, and this little thing right here, this whole red line, all of that right there is meant to help light up a reticle that is on the inside. So if you're shooting during the day, sun comes through and shines on that, and then what it'll do is, as it shines on the inside of your scope, or sorry, on the inside of the ACOG, what you're going to see is like a red little triangle. That is what you're able to use to help sight yourself in. Granted, you don't use the actual red arrow to zero your rifle. That red arrow is meant for a specific distance. Just below that red arrow, there's actually a little dash line. That is what you use to zero at 25. And then, of course, there's little hashes and dashes all the way down for different angles. So just be aware of that. Now, I have seen these guys run for anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000. And of course, if you just buy a Chinese knockoff, you'll probably find it for like $200 or something like that. But typically, the more expensive they are, the better they are. I don't typically care for the ACOG. It's a little bit too heavy for my liking. It is bulky, and whenever I end up having to set up my iron sights and use my iron sights instead because of one reason or another, the magnification actually throws me off. So it's almost better at that point to just have a CCO, especially when you're doing CQB or something like that. But enough of that. So these, like I said, so the ACOG and the CCO and the iron sights are all on government weapons. That's typically how they come. They always are going to come with the iron sights, typically an A-frame, and then they're going to either have a CCO or they're going to have an ACOG on them. Now, what I did was I was able to convince a buddy of mine to sell me a couple of items that he had. Now, I think this is just, I've got two of my favorite companies right here when it comes to optics for weapons, okay? I've got a Vortex and I've got an EOTech. EOTech makes some really, really good stuff. Durable, they're all over the place. People love them, I love them. It is battery powered, so you will have to watch out for that. But nonetheless, it works really, really well. You can find these on EOTech's website. They run typically anywhere from $700 to about $1,000, depending on the make and model that you're going to end up getting for it. This guy right here, this one specifically costs right around $825, $850. So not bad. Not bad when it comes to the reliability of it as well. It is set up for a Picatinny, so you're able to put it on your Picatinny rails, and then it just clamps down nice and tight, and you're able to screw it in a little bit more as needed so that it doesn't shake and vibrate when you're moving around. It is a single red dot on it, though. It doesn't have like the circle red dots, but that honestly is not a problem. So this guy I was able to use on my M4 recently, and you can see that on my my rifle range, my rifle qualification video. That is where I have this one going. But on top of that, I also have this guy. This is your magnifier. Now, benefit of having a magnifier, well, you don't have to worry about when you're shooting long distance. Of course, you can utilize this guy in order to see a little bit farther. Now, this guy is a 3X, so he's not as powerful as the ACOG. He is a 3X, but you really don't need anything more than a 3X when you're shooting maybe 100 meters to maybe 250, maybe even 300. You could probably push it out to 300 and be just fine. But if you have strictly an ACOG on your rifle and you're trying to shoot targets that are close, like at 25, 50 meters, it gets a little hazy in there and doesn't allow for good adjustment of your sights because everything is so in your face when you're looking through that reticle. You kind of forget your surroundings. That is where the EOTech and a magnifier come through. You set these guys up just right so that you have your red dot up front, and then you have your Vortex in the back. So Vortex in the back, you got your magnifier, you're shooting at long distance, happy days. All of a sudden, you start to move, and you need to ensure that you have a decent field of vision and you're not completely focused on this. So what do? You drop it off to the side, and then as these are lined up, now you just focus strictly on your red dot and you're able to actually see the rest of your surroundings. One of my only complaint for this guy is how long he is, all right? Vortex makes really, really good stuff. They have a really good warranty on a lot of their things, so I highly recommend, especially when it comes to long-range scopes, they have some really, really good stuff. When it comes to magnifiers, the only thing I would say is to have this sucker shrink up just a little bit. Now, EOTech does make a set of magnifiers, and they run close to $250, $300, and they're a little bit shorter, and because of that shortness, they're not as heavy as well. And they have different styles where it can either be like a push release here, or it's a lever release where you're able to press it and it flips over, or it flips down in, so on and so forth. But these guys, I highly recommend. So if you're out there and you're starting to get comfortable with shooting, highly recommend you first start with your iron sights. Start with the iron sights first. You have to get proficient in that. Once you're done with your iron sights and you're actually able to hit pretty decently, once you have a really good group at 25 meters, and then you stretch that out and you're able to hit targets at 300 with just standard iron sights, then I would almost recommend at that point, that's when you're able to move into your CCOs, your ACOGs, and then of course start getting into the more CQB style stuff. But honestly, highly recommend this stuff. I'll drop their websites onto the channel. If you like what you guys are hearing, like and subscribe to the channel, and just hang around. You guys will be getting more from me. Have a great rest of your day.